What are the benefits of bootstrapping? You owned your equity until you chose to give it up.
Yeah, exactly. I think you have true autonomy to design a company that you want and make decisions that fit your values and fit your goals. We don't have to think about kind of what private equity needs or what our partners need at this point.
In 2023, investment into women-run businesses was at 2.25%. In 2024, investment into women-run businesses was at 2%. In 2026, this dropped to 1.3%. You have a greater chance of recovering from being attacked by a shark than you have at getting venture capital or private equity funding as a female founder. Now, this is not because women build worse businesses. It's because the system was never built for them. This is the Bootstrappers Breakfast. My name is Geeta Sidhu-Robb. And every episode, I'm going to sit down with a woman who built something real without waiting for the permission or the funding to do it. No hustle myths, no overnight stories, just the real trade the female founders have to make, the real decisions they've made, and what it actually took to get them to where they are today. This is the show for the female founder who has stopped waiting and started building. Let's get into it. Welcome to the first episode of Bootstrappers Breakfast. Today we have the absolute pleasure of having a lady who has, with her co-founder, bootstrapped to 200 million. That is just wild and is an amazing achievement. And so I have called Darina Garland here from her incredibly busy life to have a conversation with us about this. Thank you for joining me, Darina.
You're welcome. Nice to see you, Geeta.
It's so nice to see you. I just need to talk about this. Like, what do you mean you can bootstrap to 200 million? What do you mean anyone can do that? All we ever hear is that you've got to go and raise money from VC and PE. And you've done this. And because women can only raise 1.3% of women are ever going to get funded, you are literally the last bastion of hope for these people.
I hope not. There's lots of hope. But yeah, it is. I always thought it was unusual that companies are kind of measured in success based on how much they've raised, because that is an achievement. It definitely is. But I think it's about how growing full stop, and making something of value. So it was the plan to grow, but we were very lucky as well in terms of like decisions we made, and launching on a crowdfunding platform in the first place gave us money up front. So we were lucky to, like there's lots of companies who are startups who are pre-revenue, but we had money coming in from our very first launch. So yeah.
What did you do there? Talk to me about that, the crowdfunding at the beginning.
Yeah, so we launched the first ever Ooni back in 2012. And at that point, Kickstarter had just launched in the UK. So that was really good because it gave us a platform to launch our fledgling idea on. And even more usefully, it meant that we could sell in our product to countries around the world. Prior to that, you could only have a Kickstarter campaign if you had a US bank account. So this was just really good timing. And Christian, my co-founder, recognised that. We launched it, put a goal. I think our goal was to raise £7,500 with our very first. Yeah, so we did that. It was a 30-day campaign. And I'm sure everyone knows Kickstarter or crowdfunding platforms. But basically, I really love the concept because you win if you reach your goal and the backers win if you reach your goal. So it's kind of mutually beneficial. And I still talk about now our customers as backers, like the mutual benefit. So we raised that goal and we went, I think, to about 30,000 in that first 30-day campaign. So smashed the goal. Such a genuine kickstart because we didn't have money before that. And then we had this money in the bank to go then make the first prototype. So that the first, there was 10, I think there was about 90 ovens sold around the world, a very first prototype, and they got a discount for backing us early. And then we had to get a manufacturer and try and run to keep up with it. But after those 30 days, the campaign closed, but the orders kept coming in. So that was like the very first launch. It was, we got lots of press straight away because people loved the idea, and then it just kept going from there.
Okay, I have so many questions. Because the thing about this is that when you say to somebody bootstrap to 200 million, women who are setting up businesses and are at 200,000, their brains switch off, right? Because they're like, oh, well, I obviously am never going to do that. So there's an interesting thing I can listen to. But it's not true, because when we're talking, well, you're like, okay, we don't have any money, and here we are. And so we're going to go and take advantage of this platform, and we're going to try and raise 7,500 grand. What was the goal that 7.5 grand was going to get you?
It was basically going to buy the first round of ovens. So we created the first backyard pizza oven that's kind of portable and fast. And so we had a very sketchy prototype back then, and like have made like little models, made a campaign with it. And then the idea was that that money would literally pay for the first round of manufacturing. So it was an upfront payment, which is an unusual thing to have in a business.
It's a very unusual thing. And what you're doing is seeing if there's demand at the same time, aren't you?
Yeah, it's beautiful in that way because you can really test the idea, the concept, you can see what the buy-in is, and you can grow an audience. And one of the good things about that audience, I think it's probably still true, is that it's early adopters, so people who want fresh innovation and ideas, and they're prepared to maybe be a bit more patient and like take risks because they want to be first to receive this like cool new thing.
Yeah. And they actually then become diehard fans as well, because it's like Apple, the ones that queue for the new Apple phone or whatever it is every time. In that 7.5 grand, you were shipping a portable oven, right? So the cost of that, to ship that around the world, did you guys actually include the cost, and did you know what you were doing?
Yeah, well, yes and no. I mean, I feel like at those early days we were running to keep up. So we launched this, then the oven orders came in. We didn't even have a manufacturer at that point. So we had to like get a manufacturer. Our first manufacturer was actually in Finland. And then there was another innovation. Christian had an idea, which was to get, I think it had to be under 10 kilos to be able to ship with a Royal Mail. And that was, so yeah, we absolutely wanted it to be consumer, and we wanted to be able to post it like that. So to take a little bit of weight off, edited the legs from 4 to 3, which actually is beneficial because it gives that, that stability, that tripod stability. But that came straight out of knowing that we wanted to ship it in the regular posts, and it had to be under that certain weighting. So it was a win-win in that way.
Oh, I love that. So there you are now. You've got 30 grand, which is the wild, you're almost 4 and a bit times more money than you thought. But in itself, did you have the plan for the rest of the business after that? Or was that what forced it?
Yeah, it forced it. So we were running an education business at the time, which was about creativity and innovation and school community. So very keen to kind of try and teach other people and enable problem solving, creative problem solving elsewhere. We had a lot of problems at that point, but a lot of excitement about the launch. So yeah, we had a goal. I would say that both of us had really high ambition, not for financial goals, but just to make this bigger than just a backyard, like or like a kitchen table hobby style.
Yeah.
We wanted this to be a global company really early and to really have a positive impact. So yeah, that ambition was definitely aligned. And then because quite quickly after we launched the campaign, we had like Wired picked us up, we had Cool Hunting, and lots like Selfridges got in touch. We were like, okay, this isn't just us who want this. This is something legit.
So the thing that I'm hearing you say is that when you're setting up a business, number one, it's really helpful to find out if there's a desire, there's an appetite for that, right? Number two, use the money to actually create the product and sell the product, because that's the best thing that you can do. Number three, you then kind of streamlined it by finding someone who actually manufacture it. But number four was that you got people to notice you were alive.
Yeah, we got a lot of PR, which was really cool. And yeah, organically as well, people were onto it, searching for kind of cool innovations. And it definitely, I talk about this quite a lot, but I feel like that early campaign captured people's hearts and minds. The idea of having amazing pizza at home in a minute or less. You're like, okay, this is something special.
And also, when we talk about fundraising, one of the things that I want to make really clear is that at 7.5 grand, or the equivalent of it, that you're trying to set up a product-based business. The service-based business is so easy. And I set up a product-based business, which I'm never, ever going to do again, because mine was A, food, and B, perishable. Never. Because the pizza oven. Yeah, the pizza oven's not going bad sitting in your freezer or your fridge, right?
Yeah, that helped when we were stuck on the Suez Canal for months and months. So yeah, I get you.
Oh my God, tell me about that.
Yeah, we just were. We had literally millions of pounds worth of stock that was pre-ordered on the boat and like then backlogged for months and months. It was pretty messy. But again, we're looking at what the opportunity was to connect with our backers and our consumers and tell them what was going on and to offer them choices. Like, either do you want to wait for this? Then I think we were launching another one. So that kind of skewed kind of the timings for that, but we offered them the new one. So, and we were able to say, like, this has impacted us as well. And it was a global thing. But yeah, like I say, it's good it wasn't perishable. Because we do sell some perishable products, but it was the ovens that were held up that was pretty tricky.
So was that because of politics?
No, remember the Ever Given got stuck on the Suez Canal and that it stopped global shipping for months and
Yeah,
months.
well, it's just that I'm thinking of the war now as well.
Yeah,
Right?
now there's other issues, but yeah, it turns out that supply chains impact everywhere, right? We all need stock from around the world in this global
It's
universe.
utterly wild, isn't it? Okay, there's a few kind of myths I want to quickly pull up and bang out, which is one, you can't set up a business without raising money. That's not true because you did, but you've raised it by selling product.
Yeah,
And
selling an idea and then a product, yes.
yeah, you sold the idea, exactly. Then you fulfill the idea by giving them the product. But you can do that today by actually, you could ask friends and family for that money. There are grants available. There are overdrafts available that you can get, although women don't in running businesses, particularly non-white women running businesses, really struggle to get bank debt. It's a very big problem. But there are actually, if you pre-sell something, to me, also the pre-selling means you have a business. We often say, oh, I want to set up a business. But if you don't have a client, you don't have a business.
Mm-hmm. Totally. I think you're right that it is unusual to bootstrap, full stop, but it's totally possible. And I'm obviously super glad we did, because then you can have all sorts of benefits in terms of being able to really steer your own ship. And, here we are 13 years.
What are the benefits of bootstrapping? You owned your equity until you chose to give it up.
Yeah, exactly. And you have true autonomy to design a company that you want, right? Like, and make decisions that fit your values and fit your goals. And I mean, we're very collaborative as a leadership team and as founders, but we don't have to think about kind of what private equity needs or what our partners need at this point. We want to make money and grow, obviously, because you don't have a sustainable business if that doesn't happen. And we've had experiences of that as well when it hasn't been growing. But ultimately, our goal is to create brilliant products and to have positive impact on people's lives. And so we can make decisions with that goal as opposed to like bottom line all the time. So I think the freedom is...
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say, because entrepreneurship to me, I think for women, it does give you freedom. And you, along the way, had babies as well, right?
Yeah. Actually, our eldest is the same age as the business. So like he's, well, a bit older. He was 1 when we started Ooni. So he's now 15. And so yeah, children have always been part of my life working balance, trying to like make sure there is balance for us and balance for the rest of the team. I think that was very healthy for us to have kids as we were doing this, so they were in it. So we made sure that, for example, we didn't work every weekend and we didn't work in the evenings, and we actually had downtime and we actually took holidays. And then I think that helped like us stir a healthy culture for our team as we grew, because Ooni is very important to us and business is really important, but it's not everything, and you need to make sure that there's balance in life so you can bring your best self. Very grateful that the kids were growing up alongside that and are kind of seeing us change from kind of really scrappy backyard to something bigger. And yeah, still we feel like there's a lot more to do in Ooni.
Yeah, no, I mean, absolutely. But I always think this is what I call the bootstrappers bargain, that you're like, here's the kind of life I want to live, and this will give me the choice. Because we make it sound really easy to go off and raise money. Number one, no, if you're a woman. But number two, you then you hear these conversations from VCs where they're like, if you're not willing to work 7 days a week, 24/7, then, what use are you? Why am I giving you any money? And you're like, no, this is not how this is supposed to work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think that bootstrapping definitely helped that. We met some people, met lots of other business owners over the years. And I remember this guy who was pretty miserable, who had an amazing business that he'd sold the majority of. And he was like, just if you never want to have a Sunday again, if you don't want to see your kids. So there's definitely people who have sadly had that. There's a massive sacrifice, right? If you're going to do that. But I'm sure there's other partners and investors who understand the power of balance and getting the best out of people. But luckily, because we haven't actually ever privately raised money, we haven't had to think about that. We have taken bank debt. We have a tiny bit of friends and family money back in the day, which was very helpful. But yeah, we've done a lot of actual crowdfunding over the years. Beyond that first Kickstarter, we did a couple of campaigns afterwards and went from the first one was 7,500 we were aiming for. The next one was £1 million, and we raised that. So Yeah.
Are you serious? On a Kickstarting campaign?
Yeah.
Wild.
We
I've
sort of
never
knew
heard.
what we were doing at that point. And we haven't done them for a long time because we feel like we're more established and maybe it's not the right way to reach our customers. But we wouldn't rule it out because it was such a great way to test innovation. But yeah, it was a different ball game then. We were like, okay, so we've got this community, we want to show them innovation and get that buy-in. And it was very exciting, but very different.
I'm sorry, I just need to think about that for a minute. What do you mean you raised $1 million on a Kickstarter? Is that normal? Were you unusual?
Yeah, I actually think it was both Kickstarter and Crowdcube. So we moved the campaign after a month and just kept going with it. But yeah, I genuinely can't remember. But yes, we did. We had very high goals for launching one of our new products, and we're just like, we're going to do this. And at that point, we'd sort of had a bit of a hockey stick of like reach, so people knew about us. So not only did we have the crowdfunding audience who are, like I say, very into kind of newness and innovation and early adoption, we also had our own community that we'd grown and have fostered. All of us have fostered that, and it's I think it's a real USP of Ooni. So people were looking at the Kickstarter from our audience as well, and I think that's why it helped bolster it, and we got press around it, and there was already a buzz because we had a bit of credibility about what we'd done in the first place. So it was a nice snowball effect in terms of like bringing people in. But we also had higher quality video, and we had really tested what we were doing. Like our first video is worth watching, actually. It's so cute and scrappy, like terrible sound and a very sketchy prototype, but the idea comes across. So yeah, it was a different stage. It was a few years later, and we had a bit more kind of nous under our belt, a bit more knowledge.
Yeah, no, I love that. We did that with Nosh Detox. There was a place where we wanted money and it was impossible to raise any kind of funding. And we created our own crowdfunding platform and raised a couple of $100,000 off that, actually. And that's how we did it. But why did you not take external money?
Because we didn't have to. We didn't
So was it a conscious choice to turn away from it or think, what was the thought process?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, people do it because they need finance to scale, understandably. And because of the way that we had scaled with sales, we just didn't need it. It doesn't mean that we hadn't thought about it, and we of course wouldn't ever rule it out again, but it would be for different reasons, potentially like de-risking and, you know, actually taking some money out of the business as opposed to money you need to equity to scale and to grow. So yeah, we're very lucky. Our CFO was particularly happy to get pre-orders and like for that to be a thing, you know, that we're, again, during the pandemic, we were so inundated with orders that people were prepared to pay a bit upfront to hold their Ooni, and that it wasn't a crowdfunding, but it worked in a similar way where there was this pre-sale buzz and people had a bit more patience because we were so in demand. So yeah, well, there's been lots of people come in over the years very interested, and that's incredibly flattering, and we would, you know, talk to relevant partners. But in terms of why we didn't, it's because we didn't need to.
It's just so funny because when I set up Nosh 15, 20, whatever years ago, you know, you weren't told go and raise money. You were told, can you sell anything? Do you have a business? Are you making money? Then you can raise money. Whereas now you're told, actually, just go out and raise money, and you haven't even set up the business. That's why we came up with the term pre-seed, which really took me a while to get my head around. I was like, so you've sold nothing. I've got a client in the US who raised 600 million pre-seed. And I'm like, I'm sorry, what? So you don't have anything. You've not sold anything. You've just got an idea. And he's like, yeah. I was like, okay, well, I guess if you can. But I've always thought that the best way to run a business is to know someone's going to give you money for the product or the service.
Yeah. And I don't know if it's the best, but it certainly worked for us. And we, again, like have that freedom to be able to kind of choose how we design and spend it and the pace we move at and the targets we reach and all of that. So
yeah, I really like that as well, because the autonomy and the freedom you get from entrepreneurship. And for many, many women, entrepreneurship is the only way that they can make money with small kids. Like they can't go to work and they can't afford childcare. There are so many problems. You know, listening to you, it's a way to say to them, listen, because I always think if you have a product and you can, and I did this with my business. I was like, my son has really bad food allergies and has to eat gluten, dairy, egg, and nut free. What if there are other people like him? And I spoke to 6 women outside the schoolyard, and they were like, yes, please. And I was like, wild. Okay. And those were the first 6 women I delivered to. And then you delivered to 20 and then 100 and then 1,000. And that's kind of how it grew. And I think there's something that you learn about your business when you do that. that you don't when someone just gives you a check and goes, go off and do it.
Yeah, it's really interesting to watch the kind of investment market at the moment, and who knows how it's going to stay. I think it's cyclical, but there definitely was a period where everything was just about, top line sales and never about profitability, never about actually having money. And it feels like it's shifted, and it might align quite a lot with kind of the Scottish mentality of like maybe we should make sure that we're actually making some profit that we can reinvest. And like I say, it hasn't always been plain sailing, but I think it feels like that's how they're gauging company success a bit more. It used to always just be about fast growth. So but in terms of how to scale, yeah, I think testing it and the way you've described your experiences is really interesting. It means that there's kind of a real credibility, and you can build an authentic customer base. And Ooni's most powerful marketing tool is word of mouth, and sounds like it's the same for you. I mean, it's probably everyone's most powerful marketing. If you can get that right, it means that people genuinely love you and they're brand advocates, and then they do your marketing for you because they're like, have you heard of this? You need this in your life. So yeah, I think starting with the goal of like, why are we doing this, rather than like, oh my God, we have to make money. Like, I've talked to competitors or like adjacent category competitors with us, and they started because they wanted to have an online business. They wanted a D2C business, and it didn't really matter about the product, it was like, which one is going to shift the most volume, make the most money? And like, oh, it's going to they've done well. They were men. Yeah, and the company's big now, but it sort of takes the heart out of it a bit for me. And we're like, oh no, you weren't led by like, I want to make an amazing product to change people's lives. You're led by, how can we make the most money? And by the way, there's been times that we should have been way more focused on actually making money. So their balance has to be had. But our authenticity about why we're doing it and purpose was always there because we were allowed to do that. So.
Well, and it gives you a sort of a soul, I think, to the business. Like when people are like, you have to come up with your brand story. I'm like, I don't, because I actually have one. It's why I set up the business. I don't have to give you 10 grand to create a brand story. It exists, Mm-hmm. So just in the last few minutes, one of the things that I want to talk about is that I think women and men, and I know your co-founder is a guy, but I think women and men set up businesses differently. And it kind of, you gave me the little entry point for that, because I think women tend to always gravitate towards needs-based businesses. Whereas men are very comfortable with opportunity-based businesses, right? You think, oh my God, here's a need and I can sell this and people need it and they'll buy it. Whereas it's a D2C market, what will shift the most units?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
The second pillar that we think about is that women tend to run profit-based businesses. Well, I don't know if it's because they don't get funded and that's why they need profit, or because they get profit and they don't need funding, but it's profit. Thirdly, it's legacy. You don't build to sell, you build to create. Mm-hmm. And then the fourth part of it is that there's less risk when you build businesses like that. You don't take as much wild risk because you can't fund wild risk. You can fund and create.
Yeah, actually, it's really interesting. I don't know enough about the kind of gender split of those decisions, but it makes sense. I think there's a real savviness to making a business that's a bit more, how to put it, resilient, and that's been a real challenge over the changing landscape when you work globally over the last 13, 14 years to keep that resilience. But because we did always focus on that as well, I think it's helped us, stay the course when other people have had harder times, and like, who knows what's going to happen next. So yeah, building in resilience, and I think that profitability part is really key, as well as, making sales and reaching new people and spreading the joy of great cooking, right?
Well, it's a shining star, isn't it? The purpose becomes the shining star of the growth of the business. And I speak to a lot of entrepreneurs, and I think that that's what I tend to see as a difference.
Interesting. Yeah, very interesting.
Yeah. And I think, thank you so much for the time, because I think that you were saying bootstrapping is unusual. And honestly, I don't think it is. I think that the majority of women bootstrap, because if you see the number of women-led businesses that are growing, and you see that the amount of funding is shrinking, they have got to be growing in some way, and they're growing through bootstrapping, but it doesn't have enough money, time, and attention given to spearheading the platform of bootstrapping. And instead, VCs have a lot of money, so they talk about learn how to pitch, learn how to do this, instead of talking about the joys of bootstrapping, which is what I wanted you to come and talk about.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's lots of ways to do it, like bank debt, you mentioned that. Definitely something we've done. I'm glad to hear it because then you get to own your business and actually truly do that. And especially in the early years of establishing what you want it to stand for, I think it would add more value than if you wanted a investment later in time. It makes it a stronger business in the first place. But yeah, it's good to hear. I'm glad that more people are doing it.
Yeah, and I'm talking with really big clients that I'm working with, and I'm seeing these huge businesses that PE is forcing into a 3-year run of go out to fundraise again because they want to reduce their stake. And you know that you've done that, and it's another 3 years you're going to have to do it again, and it takes almost an entire year to organize the fundraising, and it's a new home you're living in, it's new investors, you don't know them. It really distracts from the growth of the business, right?
Yeah. I mean, it is like running two businesses at once. We've got friends who are doing that, and running a process is, it's a parallel track. So it might well bring in much needed capital and be absolutely the right thing, but it's definitely not an easy track either, is it?
And if only 1.3% of us are going to get it, then let's just not do it and actually talk about how amazing. Thank you for joining me.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you.
This is the amazing Darina Garland, who co-founded Ooni, which is spelled Ooni. So go and have a look. Get a pizza oven for your home because, there's over a couple of 100 million people that have bought them on some level. Actually, maybe not, but
yeah, over 3 million people have the ovens, and we have amazing spiral dough mixers as well now. But yeah, there's been millions of pizzas cooked. That's what you might mean.
Oh, I love that. And thank you for joining us at breakfast number 1 of Bootstrappers Breakfast.
Should have brought pizza. Thank you.
Next time. That's the episode. If you got something from it, the best thing you can do now is send it to one woman who needs to hear it. That's how this show grows. Female founder to female founder. If you're building something yourself and you want to know where you actually stand, we've created a free diagnostic for you, and it's in the show notes. 7 minutes, and it will tell you exactly what is holding your business growth back and what to do about it, based on my 17 years experience of helping women build enormous businesses. Subscribe so you don't miss the next one. New episodes are every 2 weeks. I'm Geeta Sidhu-Robb. This is the Bootstrappers Breakfast, a 7-run series. See you next time.